The BMC Mini was the car that launched 1,000 specials and low-volume production cars, and arguably the best of the lot was the Unipower GT, 71 of which were built between 1966 and 1969. Unlike the Mini, the Unipower is rear-wheel drive, with the A-Series engine mounted transversely in the middle behind the two-seat cabin. Buyers could choose between a GT with a 55 horsepower 998cc Mini Cooper engine or a 75 horsepower version with a Cooper S 1275cc unit. This particular Unipower GT is the first production car built, and it's belonged to Tim Carpenter since 1982. So Tim, what's the appeal?
Well, the cars are chic and quick. Fashionistas love them for their looks, petrol heads love them for the quality of their engineering. I really like the driving experience. You sit really low in this car in custom bucket seats with a little steering wheel in front of you. Looking out to the side, you see door handles typically at the height of an ordinary Mini, for example. And you drive the car like you would on a track. You kind of feel your way around corners. You don't really need to point it. There's also the rarity factor. These cars are few and far between.
Tim's not wrong, as it's reckoned that just 40 or so Unipower GTs have survived, but it could have been so different. The man behind the Unipower GT was Ernie Unger, who loved the agility and low running costs of small cars. While working at Lotus in the 50s, Unger had a vision of a mid-engined road car that was great to drive, light and affordable to buy as well as to run. Unger had been sketching his ideal mid-engine sports car for years, but was stuck for a powertrain. The key to a viable project was to use an engine, transmission, brakes and steering from a mainstream production car, but which one? The solution presented itself when the Mini was launched in 1959. As soon as Unger got up close to a Mini, he knew this was it. The compact A-Series engine and combined transmission and transverse arrangement was the way forward. A chance conversation at Goodwood with racing car designer Val Dare Bryan proved to be the project's turning point. Dare Bryan had also been thinking about producing an affordable mid-engine sports car. While Dare Bryan designed the chassis, Unger sorted the exterior design by enlisting Ford GT40 designer Ron Bradshaw. While Bradshaw was doing his thing, a second rolling chassis was constructed, onto which Peel Brothers grafted a hand-built alloy body shell, from which the moulds were later created. This would prove instrumental in persuading BMC to provide the necessary running gear. The next step was a costly one, as it involved buying production capacity as well as commissioning jigs and moulds for small-scale production. Unger was friends with Tim Powell, owner of Universal Power Drives, which made forklift trucks and agricultural vehicles. Powell had just invested in a second factory, which was being underutilised, and when Unger showed Powell the alloy body shell, he immediately agreed to get involved. With the necessary backing found, the body moulds and chassis jigs were constructed, so work could start on the first glass fibre prototype. The car was ready for Olympia's racing car show in January 1966, where it was hastily named the Unipower GT. At the show, the new mid-engined coupe went down a storm, with enough orders placed to get production well underway. Marketing was minimal and unnecessary. From the outset, the factory couldn't cope with the flood of orders. Rave reviews ensured a steady flow of inquiries, with buyers from Spain, Switzerland and the US all placing orders, attracted at least in part by the Unipower being dubbed the Mini Mura by the press. With a launch price of £950 for the 998cc edition, or £1,150 in Cooper S 1275 spec, the GT was good value, but out of reach for many. It was also more expensive than the £1,107 Austin Healey 3000, while an open MGB was just £855, or a closed one was available for £998. These cars were properly supported with a dealer network, but buyers who weren't so fussed about that could choose numerous other specialist options, such as the Elva Courier, the Turner 1500 or the Gilburn 1800 GT. The biggest rival, though, was the Lotus Elan, as the company already had a name and dealer network, while the car was perceived as dynamically perfect, and it cost just £1,179 in open-topped form. To keep the price down, Unipower offered the GT less its engine, so it could be sold as a kit, so the buyer didn't have to pay purchase tax, although most customers received a fair bit of factory help finishing their cars. Up to this point, the project had come together swiftly, but there was still much development work needed before cars could be delivered to eager buyers. The first Unipower GT, that's the red one pictured here, was registered in July 1966, but the development process was slowed at least in part because Ernie Unger retained his full-time job at Ford. By the time the first customer cars were ready for delivery, things were already going wrong. Instead of just building customer cars, some involved in the project were keen to keep developing the GT. Also, building cars wasn't as glamorous as Powell had hoped. There was a constant mountain of paperwork to contend with, while the Unipower GT wasn't as profitable as originally planned. Powell's core business had also expanded, so he needed the factory space that the Unipower GT was taking up. By summer 1968, a solution presented itself in the form of wealthy socialite Piers Weld Forrester. He approached Powell with an offer to run a works racing team, but was swiftly turned down. However, after further thought, Powell decided to sell him the whole company. Weld Forrester jumped at the opportunity, sealing the Unipower GT's fate. A fresh venture was created called UWF, with Unger and Weld Forrester as partners. Dare Bryan left the company almost immediately. A revised Unipower GT was then presented, with fresh rear lights, a revised interior and softer springing, while a factory was acquired at Park Royal to build one car each week. But things soon went badly wrong. Customer cars got sidelined for unapproved racing projects, and financial controls went out of the window. Weld Forrester wasn't commercially minded, so he saw the whole project as a bit of fun. While he was building costly lightweight racers, customers were waiting ever longer for their cars. Within months of the Unipower GT changing hands, the company had gone bust, with more than 40 outstanding orders. With the right management, who knows what the Unipower GT could have achieved though. Fiat clearly thought the GT had potential, as its X19 was directly inspired by the Unipower. With around 180,000 X19s built over more than a decade, it shows just how much potential the Unipower GT had.